Welcome to the Reddit Rainforest. Don't forget to grab your hat, rope and boots. We are heading into the forest for some loot today. For those who have witnessed a wedding objection during the speak now or forever hold your peace portion. What happened? The most dramatic objection came from a guy seated further back in a church filled with people. As an organist, I have witnessed innumerable weddings. He said the groom was still legally married to another woman in California, that a decree of divorce had not been finalized by the judicial system. Turns out the guy was correct. Some glitch in the process prevented the divorce from becoming official, even though the groom thought it had long been resolved. Apparently, the man who spoke at the East Coast wedding ceremony was related to the groom's wife, and the guy was intent on spoiling the occasion out of some bitterness he held toward the groom. I objected at my cousin's wedding. The dude had hit her multiple times. He was and is generally a douchebag. Every time I had ever seen him he was drunk. And my cousin, who I was previously very close with, quit talking much and suddenly became very clumsy, falling down and hitting her face on things a lot. I had no intention of going. Turned down being in the wedding party. Turned down going to the bachelorette party. My mother and aunt begged me to go over my objections. I told them why I did not want to go. They made a bunch of excuses and told me it was just me being jealous. Ended up going explicitly to object. The priest did the speak up or forever hold your peace. I stayed that I object because the guy's an abusing pile of malarkey. Everything went silent. One of my cousins and my dad walked me out. The marriage continued. Nobody talked to me for about a year. Right after the dickhead got arrested for hitting her in the face with a hand mixer because she made something wrong. Turned out I was right. Yet they are still married, even though he has been to jail twice now for beating her. Downside is my parents were old and not talked to me for a long time. Now my mom apologized for not believing me. Not a marriage, but had a similar situation with a family member. Called CPS because they're an alcoholic with a child. Drunk driving with the kid. Being malarkey faced when they're the only one home with them. My family did not talk to me for a long time. Until, even after she had to deal with CPS for over a year, she tried to insist at a family party, after bottles of wine, that she could drive with a kid. My family eventually apologized. When asked if there were any objections, right on cue, the groom's 2-year-old nephew squealed and banged his toy car on the floor a couple of times, like he was trying to make a point. The marriage did not last. I guess he's the only one who was perceptive enough to know. Not an actual objection, but if anyone here present knows of any reason why they should not be joined moment. The photographer knocked over his tripod, smashing his camera, and shouted duck. At a friend's wedding in 2003 he was asked if he wants to marry the bride first name last name. Without any pause he said no. Everyone was shocked, including the bride. It was like the world stopped turning for a second and dead silence together with severe tension was in the air. He then corrected that he was there to marry correct first name. Last name. The bride's first name has been a wrong one when he was asked, but the bride itself does not noticed. Some guests did notice as well. The official then checked, and it turns out he noted down the wrong first name, which would lead to them not being married if not corrected. They are happily married until today. When the registrar was doing the whole "will you marry take you" bill bit, there was a loud shriek of "Bill, pause the ceremony," and everyone was looking around to find the source. The source was a small baby using this opportunity to speak one of their first proper words. Only once. They were lawyers being married by one of the judges they appeared before a lot. It was done as a joke. The judge overruled the objection. I was at an outdoor wedding. During the ceremony we get to the speak now or forever hold your peace bit, and during the pause a squirrel had been walking across a tree branch causing it to crack, break, and fall to the floor. It was loud. I turned to my wife and said, "I guess God is trying to tell us something," to which I got hit on the arm by her as others around us chuckled. Apparently I said it a little too loudly. Turned out that squirrel was onto something. They split up after 5 years. I was working at a wedding when I was younger. I was running the bar at the reception, which was very close to the hall the weddings were at. We were told that the reception would begin around 4 PM. It was already about 3ish, and I was packing fridges, the usual barman things, while one of the male guests was still sitting there drinking. I asked if he was not joining the reception, to which he replied something along the lines of, "When I have the courage." He downs his drink and leaves. 10 minutes later heads back, looking extremely disappointed. Guy orders a drink, and less than 30 seconds later another guy host dressed extremely well, turned out to be the groom, walks in, punches him in the back of the head, and leaves. This dude just picked his drink up and sipped it further. I eventually found out that this dude had downed his drink, walked into the reception stand, admitted to sleeping with the wife on her hen night, and again the night before the wedding. He was never invited to the wedding. He just felt the groom needed to know, so he found out where the wedding was, sweeted up and dropped the info mid-ceremony. This was in the early 70s in semi-rural Washington state. My cousin was getting married, and my aunt and the mother of the groom did not get along well. During the ceremony, when the pastor got to the part about objecting, my aunt said something to my uncle and the groom's mom jumped up and grabbed my aunt and they started going at it, all the way out the door and into the parking area. They were separated, and everyone filed back into the barn, where the wedding continued. The best part though was when another one of my cousins simply walked into the woods after the wedding, because that's where he lived. The best man at my stepsister's wedding did this. It happened at the rehearsal the night before. It was a very large wedding, and the rehearsal was bigger than a lot of weddings. The minister was going over the vows quickly while giving instruction on what to do. When he said something about objections, the best man interrupted, saying he had to put a stop to this. He was in love with the bride and was sure she felt the same way. My sister and everyone else was horrified. It caused plenty of chaos and confusion. As far as I know, after that neither the bride nor groom ever spoke to him again. So worse man. HMN. To be fair, I did not witness this, but it happened to my parents. My mom invited an ex she was still rather close with to her wedding, and he stood up and yelled, "I object." Little did everyone at the wedding know, my dad had gotten rather close with him and paid him to stand up and object just for the malarkeys and giggles, and he bursts out laughing. My mom did not find it as funny, and it really started their marriage off on the right foot. All fun and games until the bride responds by gasping, "Oh, insert excess main. I never stopped loving you." It was a medieval themed wedding. The best man declared his love for the bride, challenged the groom to a fight for her love. They march outside, draw swords, and go at it. Apparently they choreographed 2 nights a week for like 6 months, but it honestly looked like they were trying to kill each other. The groom wins and everything goes on like normal. 0. Oh, weird but cool. So I'm attending this ultra chill beach wedding in small town Canada. I do not know most anyone because it was my ex step aunt's. So my brother's family I never see. It was fun anyways. The bride flew in on a seaplane and all the chairs were set up on the sand. Anyways, the groom is from Trinidad and Tobago, so all his relatives traveled a long way and had cool accents. There was a party before. We were all a little bit tipsy, so as the ceremony progresses, everyone is watching Jet and TV from the vows. Then the line comes ... Any reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony? Speak now. Nobody expected this. The father of the groom gets up, flailing, and a collective gasp followed by silence overtakes this tiny venue. We're all waiting with bated breath, but Hez just standing there with glassy eyes. Turns out he was baked. This 70+ man in a suit and dreads laughs and says, "No, I kid. I kid," and the whole spirit of the audience cheers up as he sits back down. Rest of the reception, people are going up to him saying good one or scolding him. Damn good night. Best wedding I have been to. One of my friends interrupted his cousin's wedding to come out of the closet. He could not understand why people were so pissed at him. Edit. This was the second time my friend had come out to his family. The first time was when he was a teenager, about 8 years earlier, and 90% of his family that was attending said wedding was already aware. There's a time and place, and that place is definitely not a wedding and certainly not during the ceremony, unless he's the groom. Actually, there's something I have been meaning to tell you ... All of you in this room really ... There's no easy way to say this, so I'm just going to do it. Okay, here it goes. You can do this. Long pause. I'm gay. Person in the crowd. Yeah, we figured that out when you invited us to a wedding between you and this guy. When I was 13 we went to my second cousin's wedding. Everything is going great ... They even got past the speak now or forever hold your peace part. They wrote their own vows, but before my second cousin's fiancé/wife could even begin her vows, his son got up, announced to the entire room that she was cheating on his dad with her drug dealer and he could not let his dad marry her. My second cousin yelled at his son to either sit down or leave. The son left. My second cousin married her anyways, and 5 years and 1 baby later he finds out it was true and they separated. But what a tweaked out to be able to afford a divorce. Finally he got married a 3rd time, but before he could get married his 3rd now ex-wife had to pay for their divorce. This wedding had no objections. They moved to Missouri, and this time instead of separating or asking for a divorce, he decided he did not want to be married anymore and just moved back to Cali. To get back together with his second ex-wife. Yep, family dinners are a little awkward. Groom's dad interrupted the wedding to ask the bride's father whether or not she was truly a virgin. Then he went on about how he did not know anything of the wedding and blah blah blah. Truly weird and embarrassing. I was there with an ex-boyfriend. Edit. He is my ex-boyfriend. When the groom's father interrupted the wedding, the bride's father, officiating the wedding, did in fact say it was confirmed. I have no clue how or what. They seemed to be super conservative and wore sleeve dresses, long hair, etc. and were Afro-American. They eventually showed the father-in-law out and continued with the ceremony, which was super awkward afterwards. It was literally as if I was on pranked. Said ex seemed to find the ordeal entertaining because she was humiliated. This was his family, bride, and that sort of sealed the deal. Something was wrong with the guy. We broke up a week later. At my own wedding, but not in the traditional way. We were getting married along a river at the end of summer and tons of wakeboarders and boats were out. I was a ball of nerves and the ceremony felt so serious. When all of a sudden some dude bro on a boat blasting music screamed, "Don't not do it bro," and sped off. It was actually hilarious and made the rest of the ceremony a lot more fun. My husband and I cracked up, even though his brothers looked like they were about to jump in the river after the guy. That concludes this adventure, but do not worry, there are many more coming. Like and subscribe for more videos from the Reddit Rainforest. Thanks for watching.